Oh, hello, everybody. Sorry, I didn't even realize I was live. Hello, everyone. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. It is Fiona Lukeis here coming to you live on this Friday, the 23rd of August. As I do at around this time every week. This time I am back in my office. Last week I was on the road with my daughter. For those of you who caught me live, we just looked at a horse. And some of you have messaged me and said, what happened with that horse? Well, unfortunately, we didn't go ahead with the purchase. He unfortunately failed a vet check. So that was very disappointing for us all. But he came up lame in the vet check. So we didn't end up going ahead with buying beautiful Herbie. So we're still on the lookout for a horse, if you know one that my daughter can take through the levels and go jumping with. Hey, Roz, thanks for saying hi, honey. Nice to see you here. It's sunny in Sydney. It's fantastic. Good for you. I'm glad to hear that it's sunny there. It's it's not too bad here today, but I don't know if I'd call it sunny. It's a bit of a mix, but that's Melbourne for you. It's always a bit of a mix, isn't it, here in good old Melbs? But we are definitely moving towards spring. It's getting lighter and warmer, so I'm very excited about that. So yeah, anyone else who's joining me live, I'm just as I do every week, just going to give time for the feed to filter through and all of those sorts of things. Hey, Lucy. Oh, thank you, honey. Morning, beautiful Fee. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, darling. Morning, good morning to you, lovely lady. It's nice to see you here. Thank you for saying hi. Thank you for saying hi in such a kind way. Really appreciate that. I was just saying that when I did my live last week, I was in my car because my daughter and I had looked at a horse together, but we didn't end up going ahead with the purchase of this beautiful horse. Oh, he's so beautiful. He just was so light on his feet. He danced when he moved. He was just stunning. But yeah, unfortunately, he failed a veterinary check, and so we are still on the lookout for a horse that my daughter can take through the levels, so to speak. Anyway, if you have just joined me, it's Fiona Lukeis here coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube. So if you are out there in YouTube land, feel free to say hi. It's always nice to know someone's listening to me out there in YouTube. I'm relatively new to the YouTube platform, which I know is ridiculous, but what can I say? And obviously, if you're here and you have a question you want me to answer, I can answer that for you. I've got a couple of questions that have been sent in, so I'll get into those in a second. But if you are here and you have a question, just pop it in the comments below and I will answer it for you. Or if there's anything that you want to share around some of the stuff that I'm sharing with you today, feel free to, I want this to be as interactive as possible. I think that the more interactive we are, the more impactful and helpful it is to everybody, because we start to see ourselves in others. And I think this is very, very important for human beings to be able to see ourselves in one another. It's fantastic in developing a depth of connection and understanding and all of those things. And when we feel connected, people do really well. It's when people feel separate that our level of suffering increases. But when we feel connected, it is amazing the impact that has. I do want to share, just changing the subject slightly, I have finished my book in terms of I've submitted it for a review. I've got the feedback back and I've just resubmitted it for the next stage of that. So that's very exciting. I just finished that this morning. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing where that ends up. And I'm really hoping that that will be something that will be launched kind of end of November, December this year. That's the time frame for that, because many of you have been messaging me asking me about that. So that's the time frame for the book. Hello, Jonas. Thanks for saying hi. Good evening from California. Lovely. Thank you. Hello, Jonas. I do appreciate that. Hi, Donna. Hello from Long Island, New York. Wow, amazing. That's good for you that you're in. So loving this. People saying hello. Hi, Sylvia from sunny Sydney. Another sunny hello from Sydney. Beautiful. Thanks, Lucy. Thanks for the news. The congratulations on my book. I do appreciate it. Roz, I'll come back to your question in a minute. I've just got to answer a couple of questions that have been sent through, but I'll come back to that one, honey. Anyone else want to say hi? Please do so as I start to answer a couple of the questions that have been sent in here. So now I'm not sure what order of these have been sent in to me. Normally my assistant puts them in order, but there isn't an order here. So anyway, I'll just start answering them. Okay. Hi Fiona, I've been tuning into your Q&A every week and have learned so much from you and myself over the last 2 years. Thank you. Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. I separated from my husband nearly something years ago. I don't know how many years ago, at my instigation, and we are both in new relationships. As much as I know it was the best decision to separate and I have no regrets, I can't help but feel jealous of his new partner. I'm truly pleased he is with someone. However, I get jealous when I hear they are doing things that we used to do together and that my new partner isn't interested in. She also gets along very well with my children and grandchildren, and they have accepted her more than they have my partner. What arises for me is a strong emotional reaction because, and this is the nub of the matter, I don't want them to have more than I do. Can you please help me understand this and what I can do about it? Okay, I can so relate to what you're saying, Val. Jealousy was something that I used to experience, and not so much in terms of my relationship with my husband, but sometimes with friends. Like when I was younger, where I felt like someone had more than me, or was finding life easier than I was, or things like that. It was really really interesting how that would play out for me. So I do understand what you're saying. I guess. I guess what's really important is, and this is what I talk about a lot, as I say to everybody, thought is the greatest con artist on earth. Okay. It really is. It's the greatest con artist on earth. And it is the single most difficult thing, or the single thing that we struggle with the most in life. It really is. It all comes back to that. I cannot impress this upon you enough. It all comes back to this. And now, this isn't going to be a conversation, especially for those of you who are new to my work or have tuned in, where I'm going to say to you that you need to change your thinking, fix your thinking, overcome your thinking, or manage your thinking. I'm not an advocate of that at all, because that's just exhausting and puts you in a constant state of resistance with yourself. Okay, it really does. It puts you in a constant state of resistance with yourself, and also has you quite hypervigilant. We don't do well when we are in a state of hypervigilance. Like, human beings don't do well. And so, when we're not doing well, it's like, say, we're in a state of hypervigilance, our relationships don't do so well, right? Because our emotional bandwidth is now being taken up with our own resistance to our experience. And I cannot tell you how many people I meet, how many couples I work with, how many individuals I work with, how many relationships I deal with, where it looks like the problem is this thing over here, or a situation or an event in the past, or one of those things. But really, it comes down to that person's relationship with their own thinking. Because remember this is very, very important. You are always in a relationship with your thinking first before you are in relationship with anything else. This is very important. I'm going to say that again, because what I just said is very, very, very important, very powerful. You are in relationship with your thinking first before you are in relationship with anything else. Now, if you can't see that, life becomes really difficult, because we're constantly looking out here and we're trying to manage what's going on out here. And I feel like when we do that, it's kind of looking in the wrong direction for the answer. It's like trying to find the bathroom in the kitchen, okay, or the attic in the basement. So the first thing I'm going to say to you is, the answer to this, if you're someone who's dealing with jealousy or any kind of emotional reaction, the answer lies in the relationship you have with your own thinking. So, for example, if you believe everything you think is true, then you will be grappling with that, won't you? Right? And I see this all of the time. People who believe their thinking is true, right? And then they're grappling with it. This is why I teach, and it's the first thing I teach in my Relatable program. And it is literally the first thing I teach to any couple that I'm dealing with. I don't teach them communication skills. I don't teach them how to navigate personality types. I don't teach them any of that. I teach them the principle of thought. I teach them how thought works. It's the first thing they got to know, because this is stuff we're not taught, right? We're not taught this stuff. And so, because this is what trips us up and gets us stuck for months, years, decades, entire lifetimes. And I say this because that was, that was exactly what was going on with me. And I see this each and every day with my students in my Relatable program. And as I said, my one-on-one clients. Hey, Sally, just tuned in. What book? Yeah, I've written a book. I'm very excited. It's something I've been wanting to write for a very, very long time. So I've just submitted it for, well, it's ready to go through a second round of editing, and I'm hoping that it will be ready to launch or be published kind of end of November, early December. That's the timeline I'm working from. But look, there's a lot involved in doing something like this, and I have a really busy practice with my clients and other things going on. So, that's the goal. Hopefully we will get there. I'm someone that needs a lot of time and space when I'm creating. I can't jump from one thing to another. I've got to block out big blocks of time so I can focus on it. But we're getting there. Like we're really getting there. It's very exciting. So thank you for asking. Hey, Rick. Good morning, lady in pink. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm in pink today. And congratulations on the book. Yeah, thank you, everyone. I'm really excited about it. It's something that I have been wanting to create and write for a very long time. And I'll be honest with you, I don't see myself per se as a writer. I had a lot of stuck thinking around that. I definitely see myself as more of a talker, hence why I have podcasts, hence why I do Facebook Lives, hence why, right? So I had a lot of limited thinking about my capacity as a writer. But, that's the great thing about understanding the principle of thought and all of those sorts of things. It enables you to overcome the limitations of your thinking and be able to go do the things that you've dreamed of doing. So many of us get caught up and stuck in the limitations of our thinking. And so, again, just another reason why I'm so immensely, immensely, immensely grateful to have this understanding in my life. Hi, Mona. Oh, my goodness. I haven't seen you for ages, honey. Hello. Nice to see you. Thanks for saying hi. I really, really appreciate that. So lovely. That's just beautiful. Anyone else who wants to say hi, please do. Okay. So coming back to this question, I know I've just kind of diverted here, but coming back to the question. So this person's saying that they've ended a marriage and their partner is in their ex-partner is in a new relationship, and they're jealous of the relationship that their new partner has with grandchildren and children, etc., and the fact that they are interested in the things that their current partner isn't. So the answer to this is how you navigate that. Number one, you have to, you've really got to know when you have thinking you can trust and when you have thinking you can't trust, because thought is the greatest con artist on earth. Okay. And so the answer to everything lies there. It really does. We are continuously being seduced by our own thinking. Okay. And when we get seduced by our thinking, we go off on these tangents of thought, and they look so real and so compelling and so true that we're off trying to solve and sort these things. It takes an unbelievable amount of mental load. It takes an unbelievable amount from you, and that which then means there's less of you available for everything else. Okay, there's less of you available for everything else, less of you available for your partner or your children or your work or your dreams or your everything. Like, this just filters out everywhere, guys. It really, really does. Hey, Jess. Hi. Thanks for saying hi. Nice to see you, honey. And Sally, you're writing a book too. A book on your late business and the 9 years of its trials and tribulations. Okay, great. Congratulations, Sally. All the best with that. I think everyone's got a book in them if they wish to go down that pathway. Your teaching has helped me understand so much now, looking back on my experience. Awesome, Sally. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I really appreciate it. So the answer lies right there. That's where the answer is. Okay, it doesn't lie out here. Everything begins and ends with you, guys. And I say this to all of you with kindness, love, and respect. The more we understand that, the more empowered we are, even when our thinking takes us down dubious pathways, right? Very dubious pathways that look absolutely real and true, right? That's the power of thought. It's amazingly seductive. Okay, so my answer to you is, honey, you've got to know when you're thinking you can trust and when you're thinking you can't trust. This is key to everything. Okay, so next question. My question is about emotional self-regulation. I understand that we are responsible for how we respond to others. I'm struggling to find clarity within about how the way someone is being towards us impacts that responsibility, whether it changes it or not. So if I behave badly towards someone and they respond in a hurtful way, is it justifiable that the other person has also been hurtful? Am I ultimately responsible for how they respond? Okay. I think it depends. Okay. First of all, you are always responsible for you and how you respond. And it starts there. It starts with you. Okay. So when you have that clarity, when you have that understanding, and this is what I see in my students, right? They have this understanding. They are very clear on where they are and how they're showing up. So that it starts with that clarity. When you're clear on how you're showing up and what you're generating, what you are in the beingness of, what you're in the creation of, okay, then you start to see how you have impacted others. You start to see it very clearly. And you start to see it not through a lens of resentment and anger and shame and blame, but you see it through a more reflective, humble lens. We all could all do with a lot more humility and grace in our lives. Okay. You see it through a more humble and graceful lens. Now, when you see something through a humble and graceful lens, you're not drowning in shame and blame, which makes it really difficult for you to clean up a mess if you've made one, to connect if you've made one, to all of those sorts of things, right? So I say the preface to that question being, when you have clarity over how you are showing up and what you're generating, then you're able to clean up a mess that you've created in somebody else, right? It's not so much about what you are or are not responsible for, because that gets people very, very, very confused. Okay. So, because I think for all of us, and I was actually just writing a big chapter about this in my book, actually. I've written a big chapter about this in my book. I think when life looks so black and white as it does for so many of us, A happens, then that means B, it means B. So example, if I get a parking ticket, okay, that means I'm going to be upset because, of course, if I get a parking ticket, of course, that means I'm going to be upset, right? Like A equals B. And I think one of the most powerful things that comes out of this understanding is you start to realize that A does not ever, there's no shoulds here, by the way, but A does not ever have to equal B. That was so liberating for me. Because in my mind before that, A always equals B. So if someone yells at me, of course I'm going to be upset. If someone is rude to me, of course I'm going to be upset. If someone ignores me, of course I'm going to be upset. If someone lies to me, of course I'm going to be upset, right? It was always an of course. I did not see the option and choice and capacity that I had inside me, as do we all, for something else. I didn't see it. I didn't know it. I didn't understand it. I had no appreciation of that. I do now. So this is incredibly powerful in a relationship because people can end up in these toxic patterns that just play out again and again and again. Well, I texted you, you didn't text me, therefore I'm entitled to make you wrong, get upset, judge you, right? Or you yelled at me yesterday and I was calm yesterday, so I'm allowed to yell at you today and you better be calm for me. So, it's that tit for tat or horse trading kind of exchange. I do this for you, you do this for me. And that has us be so stingy, right? Because what we give then is dependent on what we get. Now, if you're in a relationship like that and you're stuck in that cycle that what I give is dependent on what I get, when you see that your response or how you show up to something is not dependent on something external to you or that thing out here, this is where a whole new world opens up in terms of what people can generate with one another. The level of connection that they can create, the level of meaning, all of those sorts of things, their capacity to get over something, look at something with fresh eyes, and really see that this is entirely possible, and to really deeply see it, not from an intellectual lens of, oh, okay, I know that I've got to be calm here, but I really don't feel calm, and I'm actually angry and annoyed, and I'm just holding it in. That's not sustainable. That will never work, right? Not in a long-term sustainable way. But when you truly deeply see this, and you realize the capacity you have for a completely different experience, and that your experience of something is not dependent, that to me is emotional freedom. That to me is the key to meaning, connection, fulfillment, all of those sorts of things. That's how you regulate yourself, right? It is very, very, very difficult. I used to be someone that was terrible at regulating my emotions. I was like what I would call the hot potato person. I would experience a big emotion, a wave of emotion, and I'd feel so uncomfortable with it that I'd be like, okay, this isn't good. I don't know what to do with this. This is too hard. Boom, you have it. And I'd throw that potato at whoever. Okay. And of course, it wreaked havoc in my relationships, and it wreaked havoc in my level of well-being, because, I would immediately feel a sense of shame and guilt and all of those things. And this is true of anybody who's showing up that way. I've worked with many, many people now, and I don't say that to big note myself, but I say that to say that I've worked with that many people now that I've not met an exception to this. And so I feel qualified to make this statement that if you are someone who doesn't regulate your emotions well, even if you are someone who never says sorry, who never shows it, you feel deep shame and embarrassment and upset over the way you're showing up. It's just something that you keep so tightly bottled up within yourself that you don't share it with anyone. But this is true of everyone. And so if you are someone who doesn't regulate your emotions very well, you're either kind of wreaking havoc out here or wreaking havoc with yourself internally, because you're playing that internal blame game, shame with yourself. And so it just makes it even harder for you to get over yourself, right? This is why I think being able to get over yourself is an essential life skill. And, getting over yourself is not something you do once, right? And go, okay, I've done that. It is something you need to be able to do multiple times a day, right? Multiple times a day, because that's how powerful thought is. It trips us up. And when you have the realization that you have thinking you can't trust, your ability to get over yourself grows exponentially and powerfully. And it means you then have this clean, fresh mind that's able to generate something else that's fresh, rather than a mind that's generating something that's flavored by all of that upset, right? I used to talk about flavor a lot, and I realized when I was writing my book and finishing it off this morning, I haven't spoken about it for a while. But, when you're someone who feels hardly done by or struggles to emotionally regulate yourself, that flavors everything. It's a flavor that you bring to everything. And it is something that is very difficult for other people to be around. And so when we flavor something long enough, it just becomes part of the background of life, and we don't even see it. We don't even realize it. Now, you're going through life with a flavor that you can't see. This will be one of the reasons why it feels like you may be moving one step forward, 3 steps backwards in your levels of connection or relationships with others, because you have a flavor that you can't see. We are all our own biggest blind spot. And there's such a relief when you see your flavor. And believe me, everybody has one. Okay, we all do. Even the calmest of people have a flavor. Okay, we just do. And so if you're not aware of that, you can innocently be creating the thing that you don't want in your life. And I certainly was guilty of that for many, many, many years. Even though I'd studied so many things. I was actually talking about this with someone earlier this week. You name it, I had studied it. I'd studied neurolinguistic programming. I'd learned how to become a trainer of neuro-linguistic programming. I'd attended the Landmark Forum and done a number of programs there. I'd studied and looked into hypnotherapy, muscle testing, tapping. I could go on and on and on with the different things that I'd studied, and none of those things really helped me in a moment of now when I need it to regulate my emotions, to get over myself, to stop going back to that deep place of insecurity I would inside myself. And then I have my hot potato moment and kind of wreak havoc out here. And then I'd fall back into that, oh my God, I'm a terrible person. I've got to stop doing this. What's the matter with me? And then I'd start thinking about, how am I showing up for my children? What am I doing? All of that mental load and all of that thinking. And it would just be like this constant, exhausting merry-go-round. I cannot tell you how grateful I am that that is no longer my reality. I cannot tell you. And for so many people who learn this, you start to realize what you are truly capable of. I think everybody deserves the opportunity to realize that, especially in our relationships. Because just as I was speaking to someone just before I got on the call, and they were saying to me, Fiona, I'm so calm when I go to work, and I'm so calm with my friends, and I'm so calm out here, but I don't know what happens when I walk in the door when I go back home, right? I can't seem to access that. I get triggered so quickly. I take things personally. I get so reactionary. And I'm like, this is so common. And this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about talking about this aspect of our relationships and relationships in general, because there is nothing in life like those intimate relationships, those deeply personal relationships with the people that you really care about, for you to have the greatest opportunity to evolve and grow, because those are the ones that we get the most triggered by. Those are the ones where our insecurities are most likely to come to the fore. Those are the ones, right, where the worst in us seems to come out, where our frailties come out the most, right? This is why being able to navigate your frailties and being able to navigate somebody else's is so, 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 so important. It really is. It's the key to everything. And one of the major keys to that, and I'm going to come back to what I started talking about at the beginning of this live, is you understanding thought and your ability to navigate it. Sally, you are the only person on earth that makes 100% sense on thought, feeling, actions. It's changed my life. And every single person I speak to, I teach them this. And the ones that do get it, those who don't want to. It really is that easy. You are the best. Chuck out the rest. Thank you, Sally. That's very kind. That's such an Australian saying, isn't it? You're the best. Chuck out the rest. We used to say that as kids. That's gorgeous. Thank you, Sally. I really appreciate that, honey. I really, really do. So I know I've just been speaking a lot and speaking quite fast. I realize I can do that at times. So let me just take a moment. Is this making sense to those of you who've been listening? Does anyone have any questions about what I've just said? All right. I just want to check in with you guys. Like I said, I like these lives to be interactive. And I also just want to say, Roz, I think I've actually responded to your question through what I've just shared. Okay. I think I've actually responded through what I've just shared. So hopefully that's helped you. But I'm curious, is there anybody, for those of you who've been listening so far to what I've been sharing, is this making sense? Do you have any questions about what I've shared? Is there anything that you want to expand on, or anything that may have landed for you that you'd like to share? Because like I said, it's as we engage that we really help each other. Hi, William. Hi. I agree with Sally. Oh, thank you, William. That's very kind. I appreciate that. And I'm glad to hear that resonates, that this is resonating with you. We have got to bring things back to a place of simplicity. Okay? Simplicity is the key to everything. See, there is this narrative that I don't agree with. And as I've said to some of you guys, I do get what's the word? Attacked on social media because I make these statements and people don't agree with me, and that's fine, because it is controversial what I'm saying. But relationships can be very simple. They are. When you understand the principles of of what it is to be a human being, they actually become very, very simple. Because when we come back to simplicity, we come back to a sense of ease. Human beings just have this really innate ability to overcomplicate everything. And I think the reason we do that is because it gives our intellectual mind, our ego, a sense of control over something that we don't have control over, right? There's nothing like ruminating over something to feel like you're in control of something you're not in control of, and we operate under this fundamental misunderstanding that we can think our way out of a problem. That's not how it works. You don't solve problems by thinking about them more, okay? You solve problems by thinking about them less. It's true. Fundamentally true, 100% true. But we get caught up in this feeling of, right, if I think about it more, then I'll understand it more. But the problem is, when you think about something more, you're just using the same level of thinking to try and solve something which was at the same level that you created it at, right? And Albert Einstein understood this. It's one of his more famous quotes: you can't solve something at the same logical level of thinking it was created at. So, this is the problem when we think a lot about something. We keep coming up against the same resistance because it's coming from the same level of awareness in which it was created. You don't solve something that way, right? You just don't. This is why some of the greatest ideas in life have come when people have been in a state of no thought, on holiday, driving in the car, exercising, having a shower, in the bathroom, having sex. Like, this is where people are in the least state of thought there is, right? And then boom, something shows up. This is this fundamental power that we have. And so we really do misunderstand a lot of these things. We think that the answer is to think more. And boy, do people do that in the relationships. Now, add in all the information out there, because we are in the information age, right? Add in all of that information. And then what's out there is there's so many things that we get to think about more, isn't there? You just have to Google one thing and there's a gazillion articles and YouTube stuff and whatever. And so there's more and more and more and more and more bits of information that you get to think about. But the problem with that, okay, is if it doesn't evoke fresh thinking in you, if it doesn't evoke a realization, if that's not what happens, you're just still engaged in your intellectual personal mind, you will not shift. You'll just have more things. Your head becomes like, and mine used to be like that because I did so many programs, right? But my head was like a human file of facts. So something would, like, I'd have an issue with my husband or one of my kids. I've got 4 of them, so plenty of opportunities to have an issue. And I go into my human file of facts and I go, okay, is this an attachment style issue? Is this a love language issue? Maybe it's that personality thing. I wonder what's the core need that my husband operates from? I would just go round and round and round and round and round. Meanwhile, okay, I'm disconnected. I'm not present. I'm not listening. I'm overwhelmed with all the thinking, and I just end up in the same place. Right? This is why I call us a funny little human. We are very funny. First time commenting here. I thought so, William. I thought it was. I don't think I've seen William before, so I always lovely when someone comments for the first time. I do appreciate it. I really do. Hey, Mona. I agree also. In the last couple of months, I've relapsed back into my overthinking again. You need to get back to the basics of your relatable. Yes, Mona, you do. Absolutely. Absolutely. William, thought has resistance. Resistance has a pattern. It's cyclic in nature and our thinking pattern as well. Yes. There's a great saying in life that I think is so fundamentally true of human beings. Pain is optional. Oh, sorry, I just got it wrong. Okay, let me just ignore what I just said. Pain. What is it? How does it go again? Suffering is optional. Okay, it is. Pain is, I've forgotten the word. Oh, my brain. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is pain is a given, right? Pain is just a part of life. It's the suffering that is optional. And this is so fundamentally true. Okay? Suffering is optional. Pain is a given. Everybody suffers pain at some point. right? And they will multiple times over their lifetime. But it is the suffering which is optional. And we inadvertently create so much suffering for ourselves, so much. Like, it breaks my heart. When I first started doing this all those years ago, that's always been my goal, to reduce the amount of suffering in the world. And I honestly, through all the different things I examined and looked at and studied and researched, I have never come across anything that is as effective and powerful long term as this in reducing the amount of human suffering in the world. I'm about to get emotional, so it's probably time for me to stop because I've got a session coming up. Hi, Marion. You need to think about the world. Hi, Fiona. Yeah, we do. We all do, because we are that powerful. We are that powerful. You are way more powerful than you realize. So I will always be a champion for your greatness, because when people see that in themselves, what they generate, the space they come from, it's beautiful and it ripples everywhere. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I so appreciate it. If you do have a question, send it to hello@fionalukeis.com.au and I will answer it for you. I think I'm almost up to date with my questions at the moment. So it's a pretty good chance if you send your question in, it will get answered the next time I go live, which will be next Friday. I'm going away for the weekend with my husband in our van, which I'm very excited about. We haven't been away for a few months, so really looking forward to that and spending some quality time with him. Yeah, send your questions through. I will answer them next week. And if you want to know about my Relatable program, if you want to know how you can join my Relatable family, our Relatable family, it's very, very, very special. We had such a special call on Wednesday night, people just expressing how grateful they were to be on these calls, to be in this community, to have the understanding and the difference in their lives. It was really beautiful and moving. You can book a chat with me there to find out more about Relatable and how you can be a part of that. I would love to share this understanding with as many people as possible. Otherwise, I will see you next Friday at 11 a.m. Melbourne time. See you, everyone. Take care now. Ciao.